Imagine you're a defense minister on a tight budget. You need a fleet of combat drones to secure your borders, but the American MQ-9 Reaper comes with a $16 million price tag and a mountain of political red tape. Then, Beijing calls. They offer you the Winglong 2. It looks like a Reaper, it carries missiles like a Reaper, but it costs just $4 million, and they can ship it tomorrow, no questions asked. For many nations in the Middle East and Africa, this wasn't just a deal, it was a strategic masterstroke. But fast forward 3 years, and the desert hangars of Jordan, Iraq, and Pakistan tell a different story. These budget predators aren't soaring over battlefields, they are gathering dust, being sold off for parts, or falling out of the sky due to simple mechanical fatigue. In the world of high-stakes geopolitics, we're taught that quantity has a quality all its own. But as these fleets' mission capability rates plummet, a more expensive truth is emerging. A cheap drone that doesn't fly is infinitely more costly than an expensive one that does. Today, we aren't just looking at engine failures, we're interrogating the hidden tax of Chinese defense diplomacy. Why does the world's most affordable hardware keep falling apart when it matters most? And from a US and allied perspective, why is this failure exactly what Beijing planned for? This is the strategy behind the breakdown.
The rise of the Chinese drone was never an accident. It was a masterclass in market timing. For years, the United States strictly adhered to the Missile Technology Control Regime, MTCR, a voluntary pact that effectively blocked the export of high-end armed UAVs like the Reaper to most of the world. Washington's caution created a vacuum. Beijing didn't just fill it, they flooded it. By the early 2020s, China had become the undisputed Walmart of combat drones. Their pitch was seductive: no political lectures on human rights, no years-long congressional reviews, and a price tag that felt like a rounding error in a national budget. From 2010 to 2020, of the 18 countries that acquired armed drones, 12 bought Chinese. But as we enter 2026, the honeymoon is over. The core question has shifted from "can we afford to buy them" to "can we afford to keep them?" In Iraq, reports surfaced that their fleet of CH-4Bs was largely grounded due to a lack of spare parts and systemic maintenance failures. Jordan, once a proud early adopter, quietly put its entire Chinese fleet up for sale. For US and allied defense planners, this isn't just a story about bad engines, it's a reveal of a much deeper strategic gap. It confirms a long-held Western assumption: China has mastered the art of the replica, but they have yet to master the science of the system. The hardware looks the part, but in the grueling environments of the Middle East and the Indo-Pacific, these drones are proving that cheap is a relative term when your national security is the collateral.
The failure of Chinese drones often begins with what engineers call subsystem integration. In 2019, a U.S. Inspector General report revealed a startling figure. Iraq's fleet of 10 CH-4B drones was down to just one mission-capable aircraft. The reason? A cascade of technical glitches, from nitrogen leaks and camera gimbals to failing synthetic aperture radars, SAR. More recently, in the 2025 border tensions between India and Pakistan, Chinese-made HQ-9 air defense systems and drones reportedly struggled to maintain target locks when faced with sophisticated electronic warfare. From a U.S. defense planning perspective, this confirms a vital assumption. While Beijing can copy the silhouette of a Reaper or a Global Hawk, they haven't yet mastered the invisible layers, the hardened data links and sensor resilience that allow U.S. platforms to operate in contested environments. For Washington, this suggests that the China threat in aerospace may be more about volume than survivability. When you buy American, you aren't just buying a plane, you're buying a global sustainment network. When you buy Chinese, you are often buying a black box. Reports from Nigeria and Jordan highlight a recurring theme: the inability to source critical spare parts. By late 2025, China intensified this logistics leverage by imposing strict new export controls on lithium batteries and permanent magnets, the literal lifeblood of uncrewed systems. For Washington, this quietly changes the diplomatic calculus. It transforms a defense sale into a long-term hostage situation. If an ally depends on Beijing for the spare parts of its primary surveillance fleet, they are effectively granting China a kill switch over their national security. This is why we see countries like Jordan and Iraq pivoting back toward Western systems, even with the higher price and political hurdles. Chinese drones, like the Winglun 2, are optimized for permissive environments. Think counterinsurgency against groups with no air defense. But in a peer-to-peer conflict, they are proving brittle. During Operation Sindoor in May 2025, Indian forces reportedly bypassed Chinese-origin defenses with ease using indigenous electronic warfare. The budget drones were easily blinded, showing that they lack the frequency hopping and encrypted link capabilities that are standard on Allied gear. This complicates assumptions held by the US and Allied militaries. The US Replicator initiative is currently racing to field thousands of cheap drones to counter China's mass. However, the lesson from these recent failures is that cheap must still be resilient. The Pentagon is realizing that the winning formula isn't just mass, it's precise mass. Systems that are affordable enough to lose, but sophisticated enough to actually hit the target before they are jammed. If you look at the map of Chinese drone exports, it looks like a landslide victory for Beijing. But look closer, and you'll see that China isn't selling a weapons system, they are selling a strategic placeholder. Here's the inconvenient truth. Beijing's primary goal in Iraq, Jordan, or Nigeria wasn't to help those nations win their local wars. It was to displace US influence at a moment when Washington was paralyzed by its own export regulations. The hardware failing is almost secondary to the CCP's mission. By the time a Winglong crashes or a CH-4 is grounded for parts, the Chinese technicians are already in the hangars. The Chinese data links are already integrated into the national command structure, and the political door has been kicked wide open. However, this placeholder strategy is now hitting a wall of reality. From a US and Allied perspective, we are witnessing the birth of the Great Recalibration. Nations that once jumped at the $4 million sticker price are realizing that in defense, you don't just pay for the metal, you pay for the certainty that it will work at 3 a.m. in a sandstorm. My stance is this: the cheapness of Chinese drones is a feature, not a bug, but it's a feature for the seller, not the buyer. It allows China to flood the market and collect massive amounts of real-world failure data from global battlefields, data they use to refine their own domestic PLA fleets, all while their customers foot the bill and suffer the operational losses. Buying Chinese today is essentially paying to be a beta tester for the People's Liberation Army, and for any professional military, that isn't a bargain, it's a liability. We are reaching a tipping point where total cost of ownership is finally replacing acquisition price in global defense procurement. The shiny allure of the $4 million Reaper clone is being tarnished by the reality of grounded fleets and compromised sovereignty. But here is the non-obvious strategic insight. The failure of these drones is actually accelerating a new, more dangerous phase of competition. As Middle Eastern and Asian partners grow wary of Chinese hardware, Beijing is pivoting. They aren't just trying to fix the engines, they're trying to fix the dependency. By moving toward AI-driven intelligentization and autonomous swarms, China is attempting to bypass the need for high-end reliability by sheer force of numbers. If one drone fails, send 10. If 10 are jammed, send 100. This complicates assumptions held by US and Allied militaries because it forces a shift in how we defend our airspace. We can no longer rely on the quality gap to protect us forever. While the first generation of Chinese export drones might be falling apart, the data gleaned from every crash and every failed mission in Iraq or Pakistan is being fed back into the labs in Chengdu and Shenzhen. The real danger isn't the cheap drone that falls apart today, it's the resilient, mass-produced swarm that Beijing is building using the lessons they learned from their customers' failures. For the US and its allies, the window to offer a viable, affordable alternative, like the Replicator initiative, is closing. The world doesn't want to buy Chinese, but if the West doesn't provide a reliable middle-tier option, many nations will be forced to keep buying the cheap option, even as they watch it fall out of the sky. In the end, the story of Chinese drones is a cautionary tale for the modern era. In a world of shifting powers, cheap is often the most expensive choice you can make. It costs you your readiness, your data, and ultimately, your strategic independence. If you were a defense minister on a restricted budget, would you take the gamble on a dozen Chinese drones you can afford today? Or would you wait years for a single American system you can trust? The answer to that question will define the next decade of the global arms trade. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Is the mass over quality strategy a legitimate threat, or is it just a house of cards? If you found this analysis insightful, hit the like button and subscribe to Minh Quan Story International. News told differently.